Gentlemen, let me ask you something that most men your age think about every single day but never say out loud. When was the last time you woke up in the morning feeling genuinely confident, not just physically, but in every way that matters to you as a man? I'm talking about that quiet, steady assurance that you still have it, the energy, the drive, the reliability, in the bedroom and beyond. If you had to pause before answering that question, you are not alone. And I want you to know, right now, before we go any further, what you've been told about why that feeling fades after 50 is mostly wrong. Today, I'm going to give you the truth, the science backed, clinically tested truth that most doctors are either too rushed or too uncomfortable to sit down and explain clearly. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could genuinely change how you feel every single morning for the rest of your life. Here's the myth I want to break wide open before we go any further. The myth is this, that after 60, a man's body is simply winding down, and the best he can do is manage the decline. I understand why so many men believe that. You've been told it, directly or indirectly, by culture, by old medical assumptions, sometimes even by well-meaning doctors who ran out of time to explain the full picture. But here's what over 14 years of working directly with men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s has actually taught me. Decline is not destiny. What most men are experiencing is not irreversible aging. It's a series of very specific, very addressable biological shifts that, when you understand them and respond correctly, can be meaningfully reversed. The reality is that the male body at 65 is still capable of extraordinary things. It just needs different inputs than it did at 35. Which means the conversation we're about to have isn't about giving up on vitality. It's about reclaiming it, on purpose, with the right information. For those of you joining me for the first time, I'm Dr. Mariana. I'm a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist, and I've spent over 14 years working clinically with men at exactly this stage of life. Men who walked into my office convinced their best years were behind them. Men who had quietly stopped expecting to feel well. And time and again, I've watched the right information, applied consistently and without any dramatic intervention, restore their energy, their bedroom confidence, their sense of self, in ways they genuinely did not think were possible anymore. My approach has never been about selling a pill or a shortcut. It's about giving your body the specific, targeted support it needs at this exact stage of life. That is what today is about, and I'm glad you're here. Before we dive in, one quick favor. If you find value in what I share here, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and it genuinely helps this information reach the men who need it most. Subscribe if you haven't already. I post new practical men's health content every single week. And drop a comment telling me, where in the world are you watching from today? I love seeing how far this community of wise, health-forward men reaches. Now let's get into it. The first thing most men over 50 don't realize is how dramatically blood flow affects everything they care about most. Think of your blood vessels the way you'd think of a garden hose. When that hose is new, flexible, and clear on the inside, water flows through it powerfully and consistently. But over time, with heat, pressure, and buildup, that hose stiffens, it narrows, the flow becomes weaker. Your blood vessels work exactly the same way. As you age, the inner lining of your arteries, a delicate layer called the endothelium, becomes less efficient at producing nitric oxide, the compound that tells your blood vessels to relax and open wide. Less nitric oxide means reduced circulation, and reduced circulation means less blood reaching your muscles, your brain, and yes, the tissue responsible for your morning confidence and bedroom reliability. This isn't about willpower or attraction, it's pure plumbing. The pressure simply isn't what it used to be. Why does this matter emotionally? Because so many men silently interpret circulation problems as a statement about who they are as a man. They feel less capable, less confident, sometimes less worthy. That connection is real. Your sense of vitality is tied directly to how your body functions in private moments. And there is absolutely no shame in that. In fact, acknowledging it takes courage. Practically, here's what to do. Begin adding nitric oxide boosting foods to your daily diet. Beetroot is one of the most potent options available, either as a small daily glass of unsweetened beetroot juice or as a powder stirred into water each morning. Dark leafy greens like spinach and arugula are equally powerful. And if you smoke or drink heavily, know this. Both choices directly damage that endothelial lining and accelerate the narrowing. Reducing or eliminating them is one of the highest return decisions you can make for this specific issue. Start with one addition, beetroot juice every morning this week, just that. Because once blood flow improves, everything else I'm about to share works better. The second thing most men don't know is that their testosterone didn't just quietly decrease. It was likely quietly stolen by something called estrogen dominance. Here's the analogy I use with patients. Your testosterone production is like a factory. That factory is running, but a large portion of what it produces is being quietly converted by an enzyme called aromatase into estrogen before it can do its job. This conversion happens naturally as men age, particularly as body fat increases, because fat tissue is one of aromatase's favorite workplaces. So while your total testosterone reading on a blood test might look acceptable, your free testosterone, the kind that actually powers your energy, your mood, your drive, and your bedroom performance, may be significantly lower than it should be. It is not that the factory shut down, it is that the product is being hijacked before it reaches you. Emotionally, this matters because so many men I see have been told their levels are within normal range and sent home without answers, still feeling flat, still feeling unlike themselves, still quietly losing ground. You deserved a better explanation than that. You still do. Practically, here's what actually helps. Zinc is one of the most well-studied natural aromatase inhibitors available, and most older men are deficient in it. A daily dose of 25 to 40 milligrams of zinc, taken with food, is a reasonable starting point for most men. Reducing alcohol is equally important. The liver processes estrogen, and alcohol burdens the liver, slowing that clearance. Resistance training 3 times per week, even light resistance, directly signals the body to produce more testosterone. You don't need a gym. Bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, and resistance bands at home are enough to begin. Start this week. The hormonal response begins faster than most men expect. The third thing I want to share is one that almost no one talks about openly, and it connects directly to prostate health, bladder control, and intimate performance all at once. It is the pelvic floor. Most men have never heard the words pelvic floor applied to themselves. That's a problem, because the pelvic floor is a hammock of muscle that runs beneath your entire pelvis, supporting your bladder, bowel, and the structures involved in sexual function. Think of it like the foundation of a house. When that foundation is strong, everything built on top of it, the plumbing, the wiring, all of it, works cleanly and reliably. When the foundation weakens, cracks appear everywhere. After 50, the pelvic floor weakens the same way any unused muscle weakens, gradually and silently, until suddenly the symptoms are impossible to ignore. Urgency in the bathroom, less control, reduced firmness, the sensation that things don't quite work the way they used to. This is not age, this is an untrained muscle. The emotional weight of this is enormous. Bladder urgency and reduced bedroom reliability are among the most dignity-stripping experiences a man can face in this chapter of life. I want you to hear me say clearly, these are mechanical problems with mechanical solutions. They are not a verdict on who you are. Practically, Kegel exercises, pelvic floor contractions, work for men exactly as they work for women. To find the right muscle, imagine you are stopping the flow of urine midstream. The muscle you tighten to do that is your pelvic floor. Contract it for 5 seconds, relax for 5 seconds, and repeat 10 times. Do this 3 times a day. Results typically appear within 4 to 6 weeks with consistent practice. You can do this lying in bed, sitting in a chair, watching television. No equipment, no gym, no cost. Just consistency. I want to pause here for a moment. Which of these first 3 points have you already noticed in your own life? The circulation, the hormonal shift, or the pelvic floor? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experience might be exactly what another man in this community needs to hear. Now, let's keep going, because what comes next is one of the most overlooked drivers of everything we've covered so far. The fourth thing most men over 50 are getting wrong is their sleep, and the damage it's doing is far greater than tiredness. Sleep is not passive rest. It is the body's primary hormonal manufacturing shift. Think of it as the overnight maintenance team that comes in after the factory closes. During deep sleep, particularly the deep slow-wave stages, your body releases the majority of its growth hormone, repairs damaged tissue, and resets testosterone production for the next day. When sleep is poor, shallow, or shortened, that maintenance team never fully shows up. The hormonal factory starts each morning already behind. Cortisol, your stress hormone, rises to compensate for the missing recovery, and elevated cortisol directly suppresses testosterone. It also drives inflammation, disrupts blood sugar, and accelerates the very hormonal decline we just discussed. Poor sleep is not a symptom of aging. For most men, it is a primary cause of feeling aged. When a man can sleep well, it quietly erodes everything: his patience, his confidence, his desire, his mornings. The man who woke up feeling ready has been replaced by someone who just gets through the day. If that sounds familiar, please know this is fixable. Practically, the single highest impact change you can make tonight is what I call the sleep anchor. Set a consistent wake time, the same time every morning, including weekends, and do not move it. Your body's circadian rhythm is the clock that governs hormonal release, and consistency is the only thing that keeps it accurate. Additionally, eliminate all screens for 45 minutes before bed. The blue light emitted by phones and televisions suppresses melatonin, the hormone that initiates sleep, by up to 50%. Replace that time with dim light, a book, or quiet conversation. And consider 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate taken 30 minutes before bed. It is one of the most evidence-supported tools for improving sleep depth available without a prescription. The fifth thing I want to share surprises almost every man I discuss it with. It is the relationship between your mental state, specifically chronic low-grade stress, and every physical symptom we've covered today. Stress, when it becomes chronic, is like static on a radio signal. The signal, your hormonal communication system, is still being broadcast, but the static is so consistent, so persistent, that the message gets scrambled before it arrives. Cortisol, the hormone your body releases under stress, was designed for emergencies, short bursts. It narrows blood vessels, suppresses digestion, and redirects energy away from reproduction, because in a genuine emergency, those systems aren't priorities. The problem is that modern stress rarely comes in short bursts. It's mortgages, relationships, health worries, sleepless nights, and your body cannot tell the difference between a lion chasing you and a difficult phone call with your doctor. The cortisol response is the same, and if it's running constantly, everything downstream suffers. This matters beyond the physical. A man under chronic stress loses something essential to himself: the ease he used to feel in his own skin, the quiet confidence that didn't need to be manufactured. Restoring that ease isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Practically, the most effective and evidence-based tool for reducing cortisol without medication is controlled breathing, specifically a pattern called box breathing. Inhale slowly for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Repeat this for 5 minutes twice a day, once in the morning, once before bed. Studies show this pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's built-in recovery mode, within minutes. Over weeks, it demonstrably lowers baseline cortisol. Pair this with a daily 10-minute outdoor walk, which adds light exposure and gentle movement, and you have a powerful, free, and completely sustainable stress management protocol. Do it for 30 days and pay close attention to how your mornings begin to change. The sixth and final point I want to share today is one that might be the most important thing I could tell you, and it is almost never discussed in men's health content. It is the protective power of purposeful social connection. Loneliness and social isolation trigger the same cortisol response as physical danger. The biology is ancient and merciless. Your body interprets disconnection as threat. In men over 60, chronic loneliness is associated with measurably lower testosterone, accelerated cognitive decline, elevated inflammation markers, and significantly higher all-cause mortality. In other words, isolation is not just emotionally painful. It is physiologically damaging in ways that mimic every symptom we've discussed today. Your body was never designed to function without meaningful human connection, and it does not perform as if it were. Think of social bonds the way you'd think of a battery charge. Isolation drains the battery. Connection recharges it. Without regular recharging, everything runs slower, dimmer, and with less power than it should. This matters because so many men in this age group quietly find themselves more isolated than they ever expected to be. Retirement, children grown, friends less available. And there is a particular kind of pride, I've seen it 1,000 times, that prevents a man from naming that loneliness as a problem worth addressing. It absolutely is. Practically, the research is clear that even 1 to 2 meaningful social interactions per week produce measurable hormonal and inflammatory benefits. A weekly phone call with a close friend, a walking group, a community class, a faith community, a men's health forum like the one many of you belong to right here. The quality matters more than the quantity. Choose one relationship that you've been meaning to invest in and make contact this week, not next month, this week. Your body and the person on the other end of that call will benefit. I want to share something real with you. One of my patients, let's call him Robert, 68 years old, came to see me about 2 years ago. He sat across from me and said exactly this. Doctor, I feel like I've become invisible to everyone, including myself. He was a retired engineer, sharp mind, good man. But his morning confidence had faded to almost nothing. His energy was flat from the moment he woke up, and he'd quietly stopped feeling like himself in the bedroom and in his marriage. He wasn't depressed in the clinical sense. He was simply running on empty, and he'd been told by more than one physician that this was just what 68 looked like. When I looked deeper, the issue wasn't one thing, it was a cascade. Disrupted sleep driving high cortisol suppressing testosterone, low testosterone driving low mood and poor bedroom reliability, and complete isolation after retirement compounding all of it. We addressed them one at a time. Sleep first, then the dietary changes, then the breathing practice, then a Sunday walking group he joined somewhat reluctantly. 6 months later, Robert came back for a follow-up and said something I've never forgotten. He told me, I feel like I got a decade back. Not a medical claim, just a man who felt like himself again. That is why I do this work, because men like Robert, men like you, deserve to know that the body's ability to respond and recover does not expire at 68. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, Dr. Whitfield, this all sounds genuinely promising, but I'm 70, or I'm 74, maybe I've already left it too late. I want to speak directly to that thought, and I want to address it by its real name. That thought is fear, and it is one of the most common and most damaging things I see in men at this stage of life. Not a physical problem, a belief. And beliefs can be updated. You have not left it too late. I have watched men in their late 70s, men who had fully surrendered the idea of feeling vital again, experience meaningful, real transformation once they had the right information and were willing to act on it consistently. The body's capacity to respond does not switch off, it shifts. It becomes less forgiving of neglect and more responsive to intention. That is not a limitation, that is an invitation. This is not about chasing the man you were at 35. That man had his chapter and it was a good one. What is available to you now, the man you are at 65 or 70 or 75, is something different. It is vitality with wisdom attached to it, confidence that has been earned, a body that has carried you through decades and with the right care still has extraordinary things left to do. Your dignity at this age is not in question. It never was. What is in question is only whether you'll give yourself permission to pursue it. I hope after today, the answer to that question is yes. Let's bring everything together into your personal action plan. Here is what I want you to do starting today. First, add a small glass of unsweetened beetroot juice to your morning routine every single day this week to begin supporting circulation and nitric oxide production. Second, take 25 to 40 milligrams of zinc with your evening meal daily and cut back on alcohol if you're drinking regularly. Your hormonal balance will thank you within weeks. Third, practice pelvic floor contractions 3 times a day, 10 repetitions of 5-second holds, while sitting, lying down, or watching television. Build this into your existing routine so it requires no extra time. Fourth, lock in a consistent wake time every morning, no exceptions, including weekends, and remove screens from your bedroom 45 minutes before sleep. Consider magnesium glycinate before bed if sleep quality is an issue. Fifth, practice 5 minutes of box breathing twice daily. 4 counts in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. Use it in the morning to set your nervous system for the day and again at night to bring it down. Sixth, choose one meaningful social connection this week and act on it. A call, a visit, a commitment to a group. Make it real, not theoretical. Here is your 30-day challenge. Pick the 2 changes from this list that feel most achievable and commit to them. Not perfectly, but consistently, for the next 30 days. Track how you feel at the end of that month. Your energy, your sleep, your mornings, the confidence you carry through your day. That is all I am asking. 30 days, 2 changes. And I genuinely believe what you notice will make you want to keep going. Gentlemen, aging is not the same thing as disappearing. It is not the end of strength or reliability or the confidence that makes you feel like yourself. It is an invitation, if you're willing to accept it, to live more intentionally than you ever have before. If this video gave you something useful today, please give it a like. It genuinely helps this information reach the men who need it most. Subscribe to the channel. I post new practical men's health strategies every single week, and I never want you to miss something that could help you. And tell me in the comments, which one of today's 6 points are you going to put into practice first? I read every single comment. This community means everything to me, and your experience matters. I'm Dr. Mariana. Aging is not the end of vitality, it's an invitation to live smarter. I'll see you in the next one.